Hi, Janine.
Hi, Julie.
Well, and hi, everyone else. Welcome back to session two of our program where we're working with Janine to help her figure out what's next. If you want a little more context, go back and watch session one because what we talk about today is going to make a lot more sense. But as women, just to back up for 1 second, and just remind you, as women, we have so many different chapters in our lives. And to go along with that, we have chapters in our careers. So I completely uh, just dismiss the notion that we do one thing for our careers and we're supposed to be happy the whole time. The most interesting people I know have done a variety of things. Janine has done interesting things and a variety of them, but she's now sitting there in her late 50s trying to decide what that next thing is going to look like. And women of all ages go through this. It's just when you're late 50s, it's a different set of circumstances than when you're late 20s or late 30s. But the things we're talking about today or in every session really are age agnostic, profession agnostic, and industry agnostic. So you can learn something for your own journey by experiencing Janine's. So here we are once again. And I want to last time we worked on really kind of the what is your face to the world? What's your message to the world? We all, that tell me about yourself question is so evil that we think, I'm hoping no one ever asks me because I just don't know where to start. But in this process, if you don't know who you are and can't communicate in a way that puts people into action for you, how do you expect others to be able to do that? And so I find this is one of the most important things we start with is getting really, really clear about who we are today, career wise. And then part two of that is what should the next chapter include? That's the only way we get there. I always use the analogy of Google Maps. Start with the destination in mind, or at least a feel for what that destination might be. And so we've been working on that offline and have thrown some things back and forth. So, but what I want to do first is I want to remind you of one thing, and that is the career happiness formula. I think it's really, really important to view that and remind ourselves of that. We become career happy when we're doing work that we like, when we're doing work that we're good at, when we're getting paid for it, of course. There's plenty of organizations looking for volunteers, but that's not you, maybe. And you're working in a way and a place that you can be successful. So that gets to culture. So those are the four legs of the stool. And understand that this formula changes over time. I'm sure you can think back to a job you had 10, 15 years ago, as we all can, and you think, oh, I'd never do that again. It's because you've changed. And that's okay. We need to embrace the fact that what works for us 10, 15, 20 years ago will not work for us today, but it's up to us to figure out what will work for us next. And so, um, and so just a reminder that when we talk about, when we talk about this, this is the anchor. This is where we're working from. So Janine, we worked on a tell me about yourself. And Janine, if you wouldn't mind, what is this since the last time we talked? What has this journey been like for you as you've been out there on your own trying to use some of the concepts we're talking about and applying them to you?
It's been an enlightening journey, and it's a journey that is different every single day because it takes a lot of strength and a lot of faith and a lot of work to try to figure out what you want your life to look like. Um, you and I spoke about this offline about how I'm not getting down on myself and I don't beat myself up for having, done not as much as I thought I would do during a day. And I really am a positive person. I'm much more of a glass half full kind of girl, and I always have been. And I'm grateful for that because I don't think everybody is.
Right.
So, I have come a long way and I've been doing things, and I'm sort of trying to hone in on what it is that I want to do. I'm not there yet. And I have little tools and little tricks that I've been doing. One thing, one of my best friends in the world said to me when I was let go from my job at the end of last year, she said, keep a list of the things that you've done. She said, just get a poster board and write down what you've done. So I have written down things I've done. And I've kept this list and I add to it, and this is like my fourth poster board at this point, but it just helps me mentally and physically to see like, oh, okay, no, I didn't just empty the dishwasher today. I actually did more things.
Yes.
And I had a meeting and I sent this email and I made this contact and I signed up for this class. So I think that right now, the challenge for me is to just continue to move forward, even if it's just in an inch stone and not a milestone.
Yeah. And you know what? I had a client once say to me, he said, the hardest part of this process is managing between your ears. And I think it is
Ah,
so wise because this is hard. I mean, I've worked with people who are top of their game athletes, people who are really skilled at something and respected highly. They have the same thoughts. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Maybe all those people are lying to me. This is a natural part of the process. Changing jobs, changing careers, or losing your job is one of the top three stressors, up there with losing a spouse and getting divorced. And so, if you weren't having those moments, then I would be concerned that you're probably not being realistic. But part of this is having that, believing in yourself, believing that you have something to offer the world. But one of the hardest parts is narrowing it down, because our temptation, as we talked about last time, I think it's so important, is to say, I'll do anything. I can do anything. I don't want to rule myself out of opportunities, but you do, because the truth is you won't do anything. An attractive candidate is someone who knows themselves and know what they want. They're a good hire. And so that's what we try to do first, is to say, before I get out there and start like throwing my resume all over the world, I need to ground in who I am. So I want to share with our listeners slash viewers. Now, if you are a listener, suggest you go back and look at this on YouTube and read this over for yourself. I love the power of a good visual. So let's see what Janine has come up with. So this is the result of a few iterations that Janine and I have thrown back and forth. And this is my last iteration, but she has some stuff she wants to add to it. What I think is interesting is, before this call, she told me, I forgot that I worked for CNN, Fashion Police. It's like, honey, no, it's a marquee name. You want to lead with something interesting, something that makes you different. So I'm going to read this because I want you to hear it. But I think it's smart. I think if you want to go back on YouTube and look at it, I think it'll make sense, because I want you to kind of follow this sort of format. Janine, why don't you read this?
okay. I just want to say before we start,
Go
I
ahead.
didn't forget I worked at CNN. I just forgot to mention it
Yeah, well,
in our
it's
last
kind of the
session.
same
I thought,
thing.
oh, maybe kind of important,
If you don't
not to
talk
name
about it, it
drop
didn't
or
happen.
anything.
Okay.
Oh, hello. Okay, so here's what we have. Throughout my career, I've been a communicator and a storyteller, whether it was news or in telling the story of a luxury brand. Having worked for marquee brands such as CNN and the E Entertainment Network, I know how to produce, create, and deliver compelling content to the right audience that moves them to action. In each role I've had, I've been told I have a commanding and authentic presence that connects effectively across generations. I thrive in flexible and highly collaborative environments with creative big thinkers who are aligned and outcome focused versus a group of individual contributors marching in different directions. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. That's
Okay.
absolutely
All
true.
right. Let's stop right there. Now, if she said this to me, let's say we're in a networking meeting. If she said this to me, I'm not going to respond with, oh, so would you be interested in a customer service role? Because that means I didn't hear a word she said. What she's doing is she's saying, of all the jobs in the world, and this is all of them, I'm here. These are the things that float my boat. These are the things that I've done and I know about myself. These are the things I'm carrying forward. And so it's this, you're creating this story about who you are to someone. And it doesn't matter whether you're a claims adjuster, no matter what you did, an accounting, entry level accountant, it doesn't have to have sexy and marquee terms in it. It's really about helping the person understand who you are. And so that's the who I am statement. Now, I'm not saying she's going to write this on an index card and carry it around and say, excuse me for a second, and then read it out. What I'm saying is, this is clarity on, here's who I am. And then the second paragraph there is how I work best. I thrive in flexible and highly collaborative environments with creative big thinkers. Okay, she's probably not going to work for an insurance company or an accounting firm. Nothing wrong with either of those. It's just not for Janine. So, first part is getting people to understand who you are, and this is the message you're going to be carrying forward. This is how you're going to communicate who you are. Now, then the next part of this is what do you want to do next? So you're sitting across a complete stranger and they say, "Tell me about yourself." And so you give some sort of form of this. You've practiced it, you don't have to nail it, but you're giving them a feel for who you are. Their next question is really, "How can I help you?" And what they're really saying is, "What do you want next?" So then, Janine, let's say you're networking with someone who you were introduced to by a friend, and they say, "Well, George didn't tell me anything about you, Janine. Tell me about yourself." So you do that first part. Then the next thing George is wondering is, "How can I help?" In other words, why are we meeting? And the only way that George can help you is if you're able to describe the type of thing you're looking for next. And it's not necessarily this is all I'll do, but what you're doing is you're pointing George in a direction. So let's read that second part then, Janine.
Well, George, funny you should ask. In my next role, I want to create and deliver on big ideas that have the potential to change lives, especially the lives of women over 50 who find themselves at a series of life's crossroads. I'm interested in relationships, wellness and self-care, fashion, food, travel, entertainment, and lifestyle. I'm open to traditional employment as part of a larger brand, as well as startup type opportunities that are well funded and a part of a movement.
Okay.
Nailed
So
it. You
now
nailed it.
you notice now. So let me point a couple things out here. In your tell me about yourself, you said commanding and authentic presence that connects effectively across generations. Wonderful. Then in what's next, you specifically focused on women in their 50s, but I think it's okay because you've already said what you're trying to do is like narrow it down. Then your first part, you said, "Look, I've been told I connect authentically across generations." The other part is you said, "You know what? It needs to be something, it can't be a hobby job. It can't be something that I'm doing for fun. I need to support myself and think about my future." So that's why I added in the part in the long line, the last line about well-funded and part of a movement. So versus you're not going to get in a room and volunteer your work for a year. You just can't afford to do that. And so I think that's how we get to that. So now you and your George or Georgette, whoever you're meeting with, you're off and running in your conversation. "Oh, I think the reason she wanted us to meet is because I have a lot of connection with women focused brands." "Oh, great. Well, tell me about that." Now you're off and running. So what you've done is you've given George or Georgette a information about you, sort of to get your nose under the tent and having a conversation. So this then, I want to get to some other thoughts you had that you want to add to this, but I want to get to this because this is a living, breathing set of statements. This is not something that is going to be static. You will refine this. We will play with this. You will use different parts of this depending on who you're talking to, but it's getting that clarity and focus up front. Who are you today that you weren't 5, 10, 20 years ago? So today forward is what matters. And that's what we're working on here. So you told me that you've some other things that have occurred to you since we started working on this. And some of the things you've been doing kind of in an exploratory mode during this process to spread your wings out there and look at some different things. Do you want to give our viewers a summary of that?
Sure. There are a few things I've been dabbling in. I I've wanted to start acting.
Okay.
And so I signed up for a few commercial classes and took those. I reached out to an agent earlier this year and signed with them. And then I booked my first commercial. I just shot that in March, so a couple of months
Ah,
ago. And it's airing now. I was watching Law and Order SVU and I saw my
oh my
commercial.
gosh, what's the product?
Oh, it's for Hard Rock casinos. And I'm telling you, you know how people say, "Oh, don't blink, you'll miss me." No, for real. Don't blink because you will miss me. But that's okay because it was work, it was a start, it was an experience, and it got me out there and it got me out there quickly, which was fantastic. But then the momentum has not kept up. And so that's been a little hard for me to embrace because it's across the industry and it has to do with the economy and the war and everything else. Like everything affects this.
Yes.
So it hasn't just been me experiencing this, which my
Mhm.
agent reassured me of, but it did make me realize that this is not going to be the ticket. This
Yeah.
is not going to be, how I can earn my living right now, at least.
But good for you for getting out there and trying something new.
Well,
Oh
I'm
my
thrilled that I
gosh.
did. And this sort of goes back to something we were talking about how this demographic, women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, are being sought after right now
Mhm.
because we want to see ourselves on television. And an interesting thing my agent said was, do you know any 22-year-olds? Do you know any 25-year-olds? I thought, well, yeah, I made two of them. So
Yeah.
I have those kids right now. And he said, do either of your kids have TVs? I said, oh, you know what? No, they don't. He said,
Right.
that's right. Because you know who's watching TV? You and me. The
Yeah.
younger generation is not watching TV, and we want to see ourselves. And so that's why there are more opportunities
Love
for
it.
women, in our generation, our demographic.
So this might be, let's say that you do start to get some calls, okay?
Mhm.
Because it is aligned with what you said about yourself. I'm a communicator and a storyteller. I'm authentic. I've been told I'm commanding and authentic. Okay, that's what they want in commercials. So if you told me I took a class on how to repair diesel engines, I'd say, what? Because, but when you said I've been taking acting classes, I was in a commercial, I'm like, perfect. That fits under the umbrella of Janine. It may or may not, you might get a brand very interested in you, and it might be part of what you do. It probably will not be all, but this is a get out and try things time. A couple years ago, I took an improv class, like a 12-week improv class,
Oh.
and I wasn't very good. Even though I'm great in front of a group, improv is not my thing. That's okay. Like, Dad, do everybody want to sign up for the next level? No, thanks. And that's okay. And that's okay. At least I tried. So, okay. So, what else?
Well, I love that you tried, and that's on my list also to sign up for an improv class. I
Yeah.
can't believe you said that. I keep monitoring the groundlings to see when they're coming out with a class that fits my schedule. So, okay, so another thing, I I really want to learn more about being a UGC creator
Okay.
and working with brands and being a brand representative
What's a
slash
UGC? Tell us what UGC is.
consultant. A UGC is a user generated content
Okay.
creator.
Okay.
Um, so, you would talk about brands that speak to you. You and I were just talking about that before our call. I said, well, if you haven't tried this new hairspray, let me tell you something. It's pretty great. So that's what UGC creators do.
Okay.
However, it's one thing to say that that's what I want to do, or
Okay.
yes, I want to work with these brands. I think that would be fabulous. Are you kidding me? I would love to work with brands, but how do I start it?
Right. Right.
What do I need to do that? I just learned last week, oh, I need a portfolio. Okay, well, what's in a portfolio? Videos of me
Mhm.
doing this. Okay, well, I guess I need to shoot videos of myself doing it. So there's a lot of collateral that you need to
Yeah.
build before you can just go out and start doing the things that you want to start
Yeah.
doing.
So you know
Um,
what? And I think was there something else you had put on there? Oh, you said there's some brands you really respect.
oh yeah, I think it's important to align with the brand that, for me, that I'm working with. I mean, I want to make sure that not to get into politics, but I don't really want to work with a brand that's supporting a political party I don't believe
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
that's, I
support.
mean, and
Um,
so what you're doing is I love this. And it feels right now like a big pot of scrambled eggs. Like you're like, what is
yes.
this? But it's almost like you have to consider all these things, and then you will start whittling it down based on your next steps, which we'll talk about. But I want to mention one thing I really want to mention that you are doing really well is targeting. Instead of just saying, well, I don't like, for instance, I'm guessing you don't want to represent a tobacco brand.
No, I do not.
Okay, there you go. So a lot of times we're really good to say, well, see, I really wouldn't want to I wouldn't want this, 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 this. The other side of that ledger is in your case, what brands would I like to represent? What brands do feel authentic to me? And so
Mhm.
the more you say, and you've already done this in the statement we just went over, you've already said, here are the things that appeal to me. It doesn't mean that something that's adjacent to those things is going to come at you and you're going to go, no. It just means is you are expressing a preference, and a preference helps people help you. So if you say, I really would love to focus on, these three clothing brands, or I love my wow hairspray, I'd like to talk to them, or whatever it is you believe in, then narrowing that down and saying, based on what I like and what feels authentic to me, I'm going to pick these six brands. I'm going to approach them. Something like that. Okay, that's targeting. You're not going to go after ball bearings or car batteries or anything. You're going to go after things that are meaningful to you. Same thing if you are people who are, let's say you're a marketing person or even an accountant, and you say, I really want to work in the nonprofit space. I'm an accountant, but I really want to work in the nonprofit space. Here are the causes that matter to me. When I have people say to me sometimes, I want to work in a nonprofit, I'll say, okay, there's about a billion different kinds. Which ones? Because is it blood donation? Is it the arts? Is it education? Is it homelessness?
Sure.
Is it
Mhm.
domestic abuse? I mean, there's so many different worthy nonprofits that to just say, well, I just want to work for a nonprofit. I don't know how to help you. So it's about being specific. And these are the kind of things that require you to do some thinking and being willing to put a stake in the ground and say, these are the kind of things that are important to me, and I want to affiliate with this, or I don't. This is the kind of culture I want to work in. This is the kind of culture I don't want to work in. I always say when it comes to like companies or organizations, you're not going to have the same experience at a buttoned up accounting firm as you are at a marketing firm where everybody brings their dogs to work.
Yeah.
And
Right.
neither one of those are wrong, but they may be wrong for you. And so even if you are not in the type of field that Janine's in, I think it's really important that you say, I've always been more comfortable in the type of environment where it was very 8 to 5, very buttoned up. I'm a structured person. I love to run my day like that. Okay, great. But I know a lot of people who'd say, absolutely not. So again, not right or wrong. It's either a lime or an orange, two delicious pieces of fruit, but they're going to hang on different trees. And so from a culture standpoint, the more we learn about brands, in your case, and environments and cultures, the more we attract towards. So it's like this funnel that we're moving down. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It
Yeah.
does.
So expressing a preference, you get to a certain age, you're like, I'm not doing that anymore. I've done that. I'm not working at a place where they're standing by the door at 8 o'clock, tracking the moment you walk in. Other people love
Right.
that because they're structured. They like
Yeah.
that rigid, they like those clear boundaries. And so it's really about what do you like? What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? And knowing all that, so you have the courage to say no, thank you when
Mhm.
something comes along, and yes, please when something comes along that does fit. So
Yes.
targeting and understanding organizations, cultures, even specific companies is really important because you can't work everywhere. You just can't. You aren't going to be a fit everywhere, nor should you want to be.
Right, right. No, I agree with you. And I also think that it's important to remember where you came from and what you're
Yes.
bringing to the table. Because, you know, like we said earlier, um, it's not that I discount any of the stuff that I've done. I don't I don't think I realized how important it was
Yeah.
and how much I learned and how many of those skills transfer into other areas. I mean, even I was at CNN for a long time in and I learned so much about producing and putting together a television show and a project. Then I moved into marketing for a luxury hotel in Tuscany. And so many of the skills that I learned from television, I was able to use doing marketing for a hotel. Like, who would have thought?
Yep.
But, that's something that's important. And even though it's something that comes easy to me and I could do, very, very quickly, um, it doesn't for everybody else.
Right. Yeah. And I think
Um,
that's a great insight. The things that come easily to us, we tend to kind of dismiss them
yeah,
because, well, can't everybody do that?
right,
No.
right,
No. And you know what I love? And when you move careers or move jobs, if your last day at company A was on Friday, on Monday, you're still the same person. You still have the same skills. Nobody can take those away from you.
right,
But you have to track what those are and why they matter.
right.
And so I think that's really important. You said something else that reminded me of a conversation I had. I think this is so critical. I was talking to someone wants to apply for this job. It's a communications job with a major league sports team. And I said, well, tell me, why you're qualified, what you love about what you do, why you're qualified. He already works for one, but he wants to move to another. And he said, I love telling stories. He said, I love finding the underdog. I love finding something interesting about the players, the team, the guy, the usher. So I love telling those stories and I'm really good at it. And I said, so what? Well, it's really blah. I said, okay, but think from the team's perspective. Why do they care about that? It's not just a feel good. I said, it sells merch, it puts butts in seats, it makes people feel engaged with the team and aligned with the team. It builds loyalty, all that stuff. That's why they care about your excellent storytelling. So you have to connect it. Say, I'm really good at producing blah, 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 blah. So what? Because the person on the other side of the desk is like, and why do I care about that?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
obvious. And so you have to connect those dots. So the fact, Janine, that you were working for a resort, an upscale resort, people might say, wait a minute, news, upscale resort. But you were able to connect those dots to the person who hired you at the resort to say, here's how my past experience can help you. And so you were connecting those dots in a way that allowed this person to see you in that role.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So connecting those dots and why does this matter to you that I can do this? I'm just not patting myself on the back here. I'm
Mhm.
good at this and this will benefit you. How? So make sure you think through what you've done and why it matters to the person you're interviewing with, the person you're talking to.
Right. And why it matters to me, because I think that
Yeah.
so much of this stage that I'm in right now, people keep saying, oh, reinvention, reinvention. I don't think it's reinvention.
No.
I think it's more digging down, realizing what you've got, what you've achieved, what you've done, what you can do, and then kind of redesigning or being able to apply that to something different. So not necessarily a
Agree.
reinvention.
Agree. It's just refocusing.
Yeah, refocusing and rediscovering and
Yeah.
yeah, repurposing even.
Repurposing your skills and
Repurposing.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when you look at the statement, and so all these things, these new things you're discovering about yourself, you may utilize those, say, I also have done this and this and this. You may add those on to a conversation with someone. Obviously, if you're talking to somebody, to a brand, you might talk about your experience doing a commercial. You might talk about so you'll pull in the relevant pieces of your story depending on who you're talking to. And then if I had your communication messages, which is what we were just looking at, and I looked at your LinkedIn profile and your resume, they should all tell the same story. That top
Yes.
section of your resume where you're saying, here's who I am, LinkedIn
Right.
profile should not talk about your last job. It should talk about who you are at a higher level. That is your communication strategy. Your messages, your LinkedIn profile, and your resume should all say the same thing,
You're
have the
absolutely
same
right.
general message. Okay.
Yes.
Then we target. Then we say, who do I want to meet? Who do I want to talk to? So I'd like to talk about how to effectively network, if that would be okay with you. Are you
Do
ready to
it.
take that on?
Do it. Yes. Go.
So here's some things that I find really interesting. I've been doing this for a very long time. And back when the first job boards came out, Monster and uh, AOL, the first job boards, I was working with job seekers then. And I thought, everybody's like, this changes everything. It changes everything. It's going to replace how everyone's like, it's going to replace how hiring happens. And I would say it has not changed it. It has made it worse. It's just made it worse. It's made it muddier. So back then, we used to say to people, two-thirds of people get their new job through someone they know or someone they meet through the process. And that was 25 years ago. It's still that number. It's still two-thirds or more of people find their jobs through someone they know or someone they meet through the process. And so job boards have actually made it worse because it fools you into thinking that the world is at your fingertips. Well, the problem is the world is at everybody else's fingertips too. And so you might be the perfect candidate, but if you are one of 300 that applies someplace, the chances of you even getting a look are pretty slim because that HR person or the hiring manager is overwhelmed. And so it is a dumpster fire, big black hole, whatever you want to call it. And so to rely on job boards is you're wasting your time, unfortunately, almost wasting your time. So if we know the best contact is someone who knows you at some level and can make an introduction, networking is so much more than what we think it is. There's this idea that networking is going to a bunch of events and handing your resume out or shaking hands with everybody there. Well, no wonder nobody wants to network. Network is actually, I have this definition of it. It's intentionally building mutually beneficial relationships that align with your goals. And so if someone says, Janine, I'd really love you to meet Fred Smith. He builds diesel engines. It's like, okay, I just told you who I am. Tell me why you think Fred would be a good contact for me. Well, his wife is a producer and a blah, blah, blah. Ah, okay. Well, I don't know. I know he's hiring. That's all I know. He's really a diesel engine head, but I know he's hiring. That's not good enough. Okay. Once you've said to someone, here's who I am and here's what I'm looking for, you ignite their thinking around who you should know. Have you ever met so and so? Remember your daughter's best friend, Caroline? Did you know that her dad is doing blah, blah, blah? No, I didn't know that. So I think of it this way. Let pretend I'm standing in front of all the people in the world and I can introduce you to anybody. The only way I know who to introduce you to is by knowing you and what you want to do. We've already talked about that. So when you look at your relationships, when you look at the people you know, the biggest mistake we make is assuming that the stay-at-home mom 3 doors down or the guy who makes diesel engines is not a good connection. But we forget that each of those people know lots of people too. And so when we look at hiring managers, or like if there's a producer who's looking for somebody like you, Janine, and they put out a call to agents, they've got all this stuff out, but you know somebody who knows the producer or the hiring manager, and they say, I saw you were calling for women from 55 to 65. I have a friend I think would be perfect for this. Really? Have her contact me. That's the gold right there. Because there might be 500 people down here, women, wanting to get on board and do this role, but you are jumping the line because you know somebody who is vouching for you. Now, the people, I'm going to put up another slide here at the end that I think it's important for people to come back and watch this video part. We have different levels of relationships. Someone who knows you really, really well, who's worked with you and can vouch for you and is willing to vouch for you and make a call on your behalf, that's the very best contact. But the person we know in our neighborhood that we just wave when we drive by, you can't ask them for the same things you can that person who knows you really well. So so you have to start with, when you start, I'm going to show you a slide, but I want you to picture it in concentric circles. We have levels of relationships. And the people who know us best are the people who are going to be generally the most willing to help us. So what you do is you make a networking list. Who do I know? Who do I know the best? Who do I know? And then where do they fit? Screenshot this, whatever you need to do. Mentors, that's your core, that's your inner circle. Advocates, colleagues, associates, acquaintances. That's everybody you know falls into one of these categories. Our mentors, these are the people who work closely with us, have actively committed to give of their time, said, let me know how I can help. And they can speak of you. They worked with you. They can speak of your brilliance. Those are your fans. Okay. Next level out, people who do know of your work and they can speak of you favorably. So they're probably willing to help. We just need to ask them. Colleagues, people, you might be, your kids might play soccer together, or you might be in a club together and your lives intersect, but not in a super meaningful way. So and then associates and then acquaintances. Anybody outside of these 5 levels is a stranger. So this is why The closer we start toward the center of people who we consider mentors, the better. They're the ones who are like, let me help you, let me help you, let me introduce you. So we start with inside the inside circle and we meet with them, we Zoom with them, we coffee, we call, and we say, here's my situation. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. They may or may not already know as much as you want them to. And
Mhm.
here's what I'm looking to do next. Those are the people who are bought into you. Those are the people who they're going to recommend you because they think highly of you. And so I'm going to obviously send this, but I want you to think about how well do I know this person? What am I asking them for? When you get in front of people who know you, like you, and trust you, they will then open the doors to their inner circle. I know I have a couple young people I know right now who I'm trying to help them get connected to somebody I know, and I'm going all in because I know enough about them that I can say, you really need to talk to this person. I'm putting my name on this person. At least there might be a job, there might be some information you might get about what it's like to work with a clothing brand you might want to work with. So, networking is for gathering information, making yourself known, and connecting with people who could then connect you with other people. So, if I have a mentor, and because there are people that I say, oh, this, I know this person who's a really close contact of mine, they know this person. I'd really like to meet that person. And so I'll say to this person that's close to me, gee, I'd really like to meet Sherry Jones because I think we have a lot in common because we both care a lot about this issue. I'm counting on my contact to make an introduction, we call a warm introduction to Sherry Jones. The important thing about this is don't just meet with anybody. Don't just meet with random strangers in line at Target. You want to be as focused as possible. People who are in your field, adjacent to the field you want to be in or adjacent to your field, the field you want to be in, and who might have information. Either they've worked there, they know people who work there. They're not diesel mechanic engine builders. They are close to what Janine wants. You start to build buzz about yourself and what you want. You become familiar to people who then introduce you to other people. And if you're doing it right and showing up well, which I know you will find that um, you're so busy it's hard to keep up. Questions about that? That's a lot.
Oh, when does that start?
Now, you're
Looking
ready.
forward to being
You're
so busy,
ready.
it's hard to
You're
keep up.
ready. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to make a list. Just start writing. I know
Right.
you've been writing poster board notes to yourself.
Mhm.
I want you to literally start writing down a list. Everybody you've worked with, everybody who it doesn't have to be you like work together in the same company, but maybe they were a client
Sure,
or
sure.
they were somebody you worked side by side with who you know thinks favorably of you, either really favorably or kind of favorably. You know, they
Yeah,
know you a little
right.
bit or they know you a lot. And you want to start putting them in, you want to start giving them names. Are they a mentor, a colleague, an acquaintance, an advocate? Where are they? You start setting up calls with those people, Zoom calls, whatever you can do, and say, you know, um, Jennifer, you and I had so much fun working together at CNN, and I know we were always on the same page, but I wanted to let you know I'm moving into a different stage of my career. And I'd love to speak with you about your career, about what you're seeing out there, just to get some insight about what's going on, tell you what I'm interested in doing. I'd love to do that. Now you have a willing ear with somebody who knows you and thinks positively of you versus reaching out to Marianne the stranger who you're like, I don't even know who you are. Why should I give you my time?
Mhm, mhm.
Um, I'd just love to get your insights. Say that instead of pick your brain. That's one of my personal pet peeves is pick your brain. I
Okay.
just love to get your insight.
I agree, yeah.
I know you've made a transition from here to here. I just love to get your insight. You will be shocked at how many people are like, absolutely, absolutely. Now, of course, the further out you go, the less likely people are, but they still will talk to you. There are people that if someone comes to me with whether they are really specific about why they want to talk to me, even if they're on that last rung and they're very sincere and genuine about their ask, I will generally do it.
Mhm.
So I think it's important that you take those leaps and get out there and just start. What's the market? What are you seeing right now? What are you seeing is hot in this and this? Who should I be talking to about this? Where's the growth going? And I see that the women 50 plus are growing at this kind of a clip. I'd really like to be a part of that movement. Here are the areas I'm interested in. So so reintroduce yourself to people and then ask for their insights, resources, connections, ideas. And then they hopefully will agree to introduce you with a warm introduction where they do that for you, maybe a joint email or something. And then what's
Mhm.
going to happen is your network's going to explode. So now we're ready with your story. We're ready with what you want to do next. Now it's time to start getting out and telling that story to people who are in a place or adjacent to a place where they will know the right people for you to network with. You are ready. Do you feel ready?
I do feel ready. I
Okay.
do. And I've been very intentional and very deliberate about setting up lunches and coffees and speaking with people. And it's something that's so interesting that I wasn't expecting was as I was telling my story, trying to, make some kind of sense out of what you called the scrambled eggs
Yeah.
earlier. Um, so many of them said, "Oh, you should talk to my daughter. You should talk to my son."
Yep.
Because that's
Yes.
the generation now who is doing it. And what I am so grateful for, as you said in one of the slides, is that I do communicate well throughout the generations.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I learn so much from the
Yeah.
younger
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah. And so
Um,
you're going to connect, and that's, don't discount, and I know you won't, but don't discount. A lot of times we think, well, people in their 20s, what do they know? Well, they know a heck of a lot.
that.
And let's not be so um, condescending when we think about, because the way they do things is different, but it's not wrong. Every older generation says this. Wow, the younger one, that. We get all crotchety, but no, they're the ones they're in the soup. And
Mhm.
so, I think that don't, but always ask, why do you think I should meet with Marion? Why do you think I should meet with Fred? I think it's so you want to, because you want to spend your time connecting with people and connecting with the right people, not just people who are willing to have coffee with you. I can always tell when someone's not doing targeted or focused networking because they're talking to anybody who has time. And although you can get some great nuggets that way, you'll be more effective if you start with people who know you and are at least in or adjacent to what you're interested in. Oh, let me introduce you to my friend so and so. All of a sudden, your calendar is full and you start to gather information. Well, I thought I'd like that, but I really wouldn't. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. And you become a student of the job market and yourself and how the two fit together. And it
Nice.
might end in traditional employment. It might end in two or three different projects or types of things that you do. We don't know yet, but it's going to land in one of those places.
Hmm.
So how do
Yeah.
you feel about starting to just really just brain dump a list of everybody you can think of that that's adjacent or could possibly be adjacent, but adjacent in the field or adjacent, loves you, but not in that field, or both? Because someone could love you, but be a car parts manufacturer, but they know other people. And so
Hmm.
you wanna kind of, who are those people and what's the strength of the relationship? Start to put them together in order. Pick out your top five, just reach out, get something on the calendar. Start with the people who know you the best first, because if you kind of bumble around or stumble around with your words, they totally forgive you. You
Hmm.
don't want to start with your hottest connection first. You want to start with the one so you can sort of build up your story.
Good
So
advice.
you have to get out there. People hire people. They don't hire PDFs, downloads, AI generated resumes. They hire human beings, and that will never change. And so you have to get out there as you start connecting with people. You're very likable. So I think you're going to start to see a lot of stuff come back. So I want you to put that list together, and I want you to just start with your top 10, 5 to 10, just start putting out calls for coffee, Zooms, etc. And then keep track of everybody they want to introduce you to and just figure out where they're going to fit in. And you're pretty soon you're going to be, I promise you, you're not going to feel like the eggs are completely scrambled. They might be over easy, but not scrambled. Pretty
Okay.
soon we'll have a nice omelet, all kinds of something to continue with the eggs analogy. Um, so does that feel doable to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, that
Okay,
sounds
I
very,
know you'll do it. I know you'll do
as
it.
you're talking, I'm already thinking about
Uh-huh.
people.
Yeah. It's energizing too. It really is energizing. Like, wait a minute. These people really like me. They really saw value in what I did. They really are. willing to open up,
Hmm.
open up their valued network to me. And we all have those people in our lives. So you want to let allow people to help you. I like to do things on my own. No, allow people to help you. This
Oh
is one of
no,
those things
I have
that's
no
almost
problem allowing
impossible.
people.
Excellent.
People can
Excellent.
absolutely help me. I'll
Yes.
take all the help I can get. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else you want to talk about today?
Do you have any tips or tricks on how to stay motivated day by
Ugh.
day? Because I have found that my days are like, sometimes I'm riding high. I'm like, this is going to happen. Things are great. I bring so much to the table. And other days it's just like,
You know, lean into those days that aren't so good. First of all, there was a study done about 20 years ago, and I doubt if it's that much different. The most productive hours per week on a job search is 28 to 35. It's not 40 plus. So when you're doing high value activities, look, if you're sitting in front of your computer applying online, I got nothing for you because you're doing it wrong. If you stay in high value activities where you're learning, researching, connecting with people, hearing about possibilities, that will keep propelling you forward. But if you have a day where your alarm goes off and you just can't get up, turn the alarm off and stay in bed. It is okay to go through those dips. You're going to experience in this process, you will experience the full range of emotions, and that's okay because I think it keeps you humble. It keeps you understanding of other people's situations. It keeps you sharp. Um, but also, if you're feeling a crap day, don't accept an interview that day. Allow yourself to feel all the feels. I think I would only start to get concerned if you had maybe 3 days in a row where you could get nothing done. Then I think that's time to, start looking at some other ways to keep yourself motivated and focused, whether that's, more exercise, therapy, etc. But just know that this is painful for even the most wildly qualified, successful people. It is, it pulls at every self-doubt you've ever had. You just can't let yourself fall into it. If you say to yourself, I suck, nobody's going to hire me, make sure that your next thought is, that's ridiculous. And remind yourself of all the great things you've done. But it's normal to feel like this. And when you get to a certain age, it's even easier because then you're worried about age and all that kind of stuff. So understand and accept it as normal. You can't be on a high all the time, but don't let yourself be in a low all the time.
feel the
Anything else?
feels.
Feel the feels.
Yes.
Anything else?
Great advice. No, I think I learned so much from this, and I'm so glad that we're doing this once more. Um, so yes, I'll get on my homework, and I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Yes, I am too. So if you're following us on YouTube, great. I would think it's a great idea for you to do this along with us. But you can also find us on TikTok and Instagram. You can find me at Julie on the Job. And Janine, what are your social media tags?
My name at Janine Sharrell.
Okay, we'll be posting clips there. But really, this is something that you can do no matter what your field is. Really, it's the same concepts apply, whether you're 25, 35, 45, 55. And it doesn't matter what you do either. So I suggest that you keep following along. Feel free to connect with either of us on LinkedIn or follow us on TikTok or Instagram. And good luck and enjoy your journey. I know the journey to career happiness at whatever stage of life you're in is not an easy one, but it's also not easy staying in a job and feeling like you're being underutilized and unhappy. Don't live a life that you try to survive 5 days per week in order to enjoy two. That's a really miserable way to live, and I don't want that for any of you. Feel free to connect with either of us, and we'll see you during session 3 when we get to hear all about Janine's networking adventures. Take care.
Thank you. You too.